Good morning.
Good morning, Darren.
Okay, what was that? It sounded like you're dying.
I just love like we talk a little bit before we go on air, right? And we've talked normally, and I just went.
Yeah.
I just switched it up one night.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a surprise, but it's draft week, right?
It is
Big.
drafty, Baron.
It's big for us.
It
This is where the two football worlds blend together: the professionals and college. There's other stuff that happens. We'll talk about that briefly before we jump into Brooks's prepared mock draft. So
dude, it
let's
took
not
me.
let's not waste any more time though. And we're gonna jump into it.
Welcome to the greatest podcast on earth. Nothing agreed. We have a great show for you tonight, so stay tuned and buckle up.
Welcome back to another episode of Nothing Agreed. Back with the boys today, Baron. We are doing exactly what you said right before this upcoming draft. We have some big talks about new trades on the block. Something that you said wasn't going to happen has now happened. And then at the end, I'll tell you. You're
Okay.
kind of right and wrong. And at the end, we're going to go over my full first round mock draft, and it took me about 4 hours to make. Reasoning, positions of need, trades are in there as well. It should be a fun one. But the
Yeah.
first thing I always ask is, Baron, how are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm since our last episode, it's been an emotional roller coaster. I would say I'm more down than up, but what brought me up is that Hawks win against the Knicks game too. Oh, baby.
I don't want to
So
talk about
happy about that.
basketball.
So happy about that.
But guess what I'm getting into?
What are you getting into?
Hockey.
Because of the Flyers 2-0 now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they sold. I had the Penguins winning last night. I put $20 on it. Sold me.
Hold that.
Kidding.
Yeah. So basketball is just pathetic. Who cares
Yeah.
about
So
basketball?
do you know? Okay, ready? Do you go on NFL Twitter at all?
Not really. I'm
Okay,
not
all
on
right,
Twitter.
all right. Because there's just this is the most virgin thing. Am I allowed to say that?
Sure. Yeah.
I'm ever gonna
Yes.
talk about. I think I am. There's two accounts you've probably seen on Instagram, but they're on Twitter. It's called Icyvert and Pickensburg.
Mm-hmm.
And Pickensburg was at the fucking Flyers Penguins game, and so was Icyvert because Icyvert's a Philly fan, and of course Pickensburg's a Pittsburgh fan. And it's the most virgin, pressing, 20-year-old, 19-year-old thing I've ever seen. It's the funniest thing ever, and it create NFL Twitter last night was awesome because of it. But I digress. We're not going to talk about that. That's not what the episode's for. Baron, you know what I first want to talk about?
What?
I want to get a little sexy, get a little Dexy. With Sexy Dexy going to the Cincinnati Bengals, trading away a top 10 pick. I think, Baron, this is the first time the Bengals, either since the 60s or ever, have traded away a top 10 pick in their franchise history. How do you feel about this trade?
Well, from what perspective?
Um,
Overall, from
both
New
sides,
York.
even both
Well,
sides, Baron.
obviously, New York, you were parting ways with your best defensive player. Arguably, or not arguably, is a top 3 defensive tackle in the league. When healthy, playing at his best. I'm not gonna sit here and say Dexter Lawrence is a scrub, but and again, I don't think they're gonna replace that talent anytime soon, especially in this year's draft class where defensive tackle is not a point of emphasis in terms of skill and talent. So yeah, their defensive tackle room is definitely gonna hurt. I'm interested to see if they experiment with some of their bigger edge rushers because they have a lot of those guys to see if they want to move them in the interior. But yeah, I mean, you get a first round draft pick this year, a top 10 pick to pair with the number 5 pick that you already have. I think there's more picks involved. I haven't seen the full trade details yet, but I'm pretty sure there's more picks involved. For Cincinnati, this is what the fuck are you doing?
Whoa, okay.
No. I get that you're trading for a very good player in Dexter Lawrence, but like has injury history. How old is he? He's
He's
got to be.
28 years old.
Yeah, he's 20. He's old. He's 28. He'll be 32 by the end of his contract, and if his injury history holds up, that he'll probably be on his way out of the league. So you picked up that big contract he was on, gave him an extension, which raises the question, well, maybe you should have just paid whatever Henderson or whatever the guy's name is on.
Trey
Yeah,
Hendrickson,
Trey Hendrickson
who's
on
older though.
Baltimore. He is older, but
He's 31.
but if you're dealing with players with this age, I'd maybe keep the one that you can go ahead and pay instead of give up capital. Because look, you have the 10th overall pick. You look at this year's draft and how talent loaded defensive players are. Say one of those freakish edge rushers, those freakish linebackers falls to 10. That's a defensive cornerstone you have for arguably the next 10 years. Dexter Lawrence might not be on this team in 3. Like, that's the whole point. Why are we trading your future like this for a guy who is, I don't want to say on his way out the door, but like I don't think you're gonna see anything more than from him than we've already seen on the New York Giants. And again, I know they're acquiring a top 3 talent in a defensive position, especially when they're in a division with Derrick Henry, Quinshon Judkins, who looks good on the Browns. Steelers, I mean, I don't think you're that really worried about Jalen Warren, but that certainly helps. But that's just my point, though, is I feel like this draft pick is a lot more valuable for this team in the long run. And I wouldn't have traded it for a player like that. I think if you're going to trade it, like for a package like that, I would want to get a defensive tackle who's 5 years younger and maybe $20 million cheaper, and then have the option to give him that money later. But I just don't like it for what the Bengals gave up. I mean, you gave the Giants, but you put them in a perfect position to kind of rebuild their defense, right? If they could go offense now. I see all the mock drafts with them drafting Jordan Tyson at 10 now. Get a receiver off the board to pair with Malik Neighbors. That really helps Jackson Dart and all them out. Mm-hmm. Now you open the door for them to possibly get Jeremiah Love with the 5th pick and then wait and get a defensive star at the 10th. Like, you give the Giants so many options, which obviously they don't really seem to care about because they're not in the same division. But
yeah, different conference too.
Right. So yeah, that's what I meant. But yeah, I mean, it just seems like, again, the organization doesn't really seem like they're making the best decisions.
The way I feel about it is they're trying to replicate what happened in 2024 with that 9-sack season against the quarterback. He actually doesn't have an injury history, to be honest. That's big. I mean, he's only missed 4 career games or 5 career games back in 24 when he had that 9-sack season. I was looking at it. I didn't
he was just non-existent last year.
He was. He only had half a sack.
Yeah. So he's coming off a down year. That's not good.
In terms of rushing the passer, yeah, but still was kind of a little bit of a presence in the backfield, but more of a down year than 2024. Baron, there's one reason I support this Bengals move, and that's because, in my opinion, they're in my least favorite position ever, which is in the middle, and they're either trying to make that move to the top or this move will shadow them to the bottom. But my reason I don't like this move is exactly what you said, is you kind of have a really deep draft here, especially when it comes to edge rushers, but you can trade back and you can still get a defensive tackle that maybe is the guy, like a Peter Woods, right? That's a guy that can get like 21, 22. And then if you really want to take advantage of it, you can get the Chargers moving up. You can get the Eagles moving up. You can get the Steelers moving up. You can get one of those teams who are in that middle range where you can go get that defensive tackle and you can go trade down and probably land yourself good draft capital or maybe even a player that puts you in that position. I'm not going to spoil too much out of my mock draft, but I mean, defensive tackle is not a strong position. It's more of a late first rounder. So you need something that jumps into that late first round. That's what I think they should have done.
And it's not like, and to me, you look at that defense as a whole, and you're not like, there is a glaring hole at defensive tackle. There's a glaring hole at every single position on that Cincinnati defense. And again, I'm not going to sit here and say Dexter Lawrence is not some team-changing talent, because he is. He's very good.
But there's an argument he's the best defensive tackle in the
Yeah.
league.
No, there is.
Yeah.
There certainly is.
Yeah.
But again, he's 28 years old. I would say at max you're getting 4 more years out of him. So that's a 4-year window right now, right? You still have to build this defense up. So now you're just kind of hoping he sticks around for those 4 years, because you've got a lot of rebuilding to do. I'm just saying, I would have liked to see them hold on to that pick, draft a young, really talented defensive star who could be there for maybe 10 years and be a cornerstone of that defense, because that's what you do when you have a top 10 pick. You go and find a franchise or a unit-changing talent, and they just traded it away for a guy that, again, coming off a down year, he might not have a ton of injury history, but he plays a very physical position. He plays very hard, and he's old. So, yeah, I don't like it one bit for Cincinnati. I think New York 1,000% won that trade, because this puts them in a perfect spot going into this draft, because they can really just kind of play the field. If they want to trade back, if they don't like what they see at 10, they can go double defense stars. If they really want to rebuild this defense, they can go and get 2 offensive game changers. If they want to get an elite skill player in either Jeremiah Love or Jordan Tyson, and then go and beef up that offensive line at the 10th pick. Like, there are so many things this Giants team can do now. And yeah, I think, and if I could say one thing for the Cincinnati Bengals, I think I would have not made a trade for him until after the draft, because you can give up your first round pick next year. Ideally, it's not going to be in the top 10, and you get another really good player to pair with him. So yeah, it's just confusing to me why you would make this move.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, I'm not going to give away too much, but I just think that was the positions they need. I think were there, and I like how much, they're premium. I mean, we can talk about this. We talked about it last episode, but there's a lot of edge rushers this class. Edge rusher on defense is kind of coming I want to say like a diamond position, as like a position that is really necessary, right?
No, it is. Yeah.
You talk about a position like offensive tackle, right? That has a lot of loads of people in this class, which is becoming up a little more of a premium position. So defensive tackle is not really a premium position if you think about it. It's not a position that you go, I need a guy always. So that's why I'm just like, he's not in a premium position. It's a top 10 pick. You're really trying to get out of purgatory. You need Dexter Lawrence to play like he did in 24, not 25. So we'll see how that is. I want to jump ship if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Right to another trade we saw. We talked about maybe it not happening until that post-June 1 designation, and Baron, you're exactly right. But it has been agreed upon. That's A.J. Brown most likely.
Agreed. Who's
if
agreed
Adam
on
Schefter tweets about it, it's going to damn happen. All right? You want to talk about A.J. Brown and the Patriots or no?
No. It's not. I don't believe it's happening until it happens.
Until post-June 1 designation.
Yeah.
So you don't want to talk about maybe how that makes you feel, how that could be maybe a win for the Patriots or a loss for the Patriots. You don't talk about that at all? We can skip by it. We can wait till June 1st.
Again, I'm not entertaining the idea that it's happening until it's happened. I've seen too many people say that this is happening, then they double down or they double back and say never mind, and then it's all now. This has been too big of a roller coaster. We'll talk about it when it happens. Until then, it hasn't happened, and I don't believe it's gonna happen until it happens.
All right, sounds good.
But yesterday was April 20th. Happy 420 if anyone out there celebrates. But players had to report in for team activities. Back in the facilities, we're going over the game plan, or not the game plans. We're going over playbooks. We're getting some light reps in. Yeah, it's when things start to get interesting, right? Obviously, scouts and front office management have been in the buildings getting ready for the draft, but now that trainers, coaches, players, all of the above are in the building, you kind of get that feel that we're getting back into the swing of things, right? So where do we sit now, Brooks, on the NFL calendar?
What do you mean, where do we sit?
I mean, we've got what right now? Players reported. We got the draft, and then
draft coming in.
Rookie mini camp is what? 2 weeks after?
Yep. That's correct. And then you get everyone coming in. Baron, I mean, we're not close, but where things are starting to ramp up. We're getting out of that dead period now. We're getting to my favorite time when I make jokes about you, and that's watching the mini camps and the drills. Of course, I don't know if we've ever brought this up on the pod, but back right before we started this podcast, Baron would watch a lot of
Freshman year.
Bengals freshman year. So that's 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And he was like, Brandon Graham is going to be amazing this year. And we're like, this guy's a freaking loser. Like, Brandon Graham was like something 30 something years old.
31.
And like, yeah, he was like 31, 32. Barron's watching this film and like, he's like, he's going to be amazing. And we're like, this guy's watching mini camp on a 32-year-old that's like aging out. And then Brandon Graham was like low key insane that year. I remember him being really good that year.
Because that was the year we almost broke the sack record.
Yeah, like
Or did. We were either right there or did. I don't remember.
So
but
this might be the spot. If you want to know who's going to break out in 2026, listen to us talk about minicamp because we know what's up. Baron knows what's up. I haven't proved myself yet. Baron knows.
I only watch one team's minicamp, to be
obviously.
honest. But
Yeah.
I'll let you know how I feel about that. But yeah, I mean, it's cool. It's cool to see. Like, social media teams start posting. So obviously, going through the Eagles, I saw Tariq Woolen in his number 2 jersey. So that's cool to see. I think Elijah Moore's wearing 19. So another Oralist receiver number. But yeah, that's all fun and games, right? But we'll talk one last thing. A record-setting extension for what position, Brooks?
The bing 3 points. The kicker position, Baron. Brandon Aubrey and the Dallas Cowboys have been in a lot of turmoil regarding contract talks, but finally met in the middle. I think Aubrey wanted $10 million, bumped down to $7 million a year, 4-year, $28 million extension for Brandon Aubrey, who was not the best kicker in the league last year, but has kind of solidified himself as maybe the best kicker in the league, or definitely one of the best kickers in the league, no doubt. Mm-hmm. So he gets that best kicker money. I mean, I really don't know what to think about it, Baron. $7 million a year for a kicker, maybe be a lot of money, but Brandon Aubrey has really saved these Dallas Cowboys from a lot of games.
Yeah, I don't think I hate it too much. If it was over 10 million, I think that's when you start to be like, okay, what are we doing? But I think it's well deserved, like you said. I think he already has the record for the most 60-yarders plus made.
Yep.
In his young career, he's bailed the Dallas Cowboys out countless times. And I mean, you look at, obviously the Cowboys are in a kind of a rebuilding period. You look at how much the salary cap went up this year. I think that's a reasonable contract for the production he gives them. Obviously, it's going to reset the kicker market, and if anyone comes out and starts playing better than him, then there's the starting point. So it'll definitely be interesting to see what this does for kicker contracts in the future. But for right now, I think it's very well deserved, to be honest.
I agree. I think it's well deserved. I think it's actually a decent spot. I think we see a lot of resets in the market and we go, holy crap, like that's a lot of money. But I'm not really thinking, holy crap, that's like an insane boatload of money. So I think it's a good reset for the Cowboys, and I still think it's a great reset for Brandon Aubrey. He's the highest paid kicker in the league, so nothing really to complain about.
Right.
That's all I have to add to that.
Should we get into it?
This might take an hour, Baron. I won't lie.
Well, it'll be fun. Obviously, if you don't know, the NBA or NFL drafts will be taking place in the Steel City this year. And they've had a rough past couple of days if they're hockey fans, which most of them are.
That is true.
Yeah, how the Pirates doing? Are they good?
No, the Pirates are actually one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, I feel like I saw that. So, hey, you got something to cheer about at least, but not hockey. But yeah, they got the draft, so I guess that'll be fun. Obviously, when the Steelers make their pick, I'm sure Snoop Dogg will come out on the stage, or one of the other thousands of Steelers celebrities or fans. So we'll just see who they pick. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. Give me. We'll go pick by pick, and
I'll go pick by pick. I'll go order by order. I'll even say probably the team needs. So Baron, first I'm going to turn this way because I put it on my monitor. So
oh boy,
this is big serious stuff.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So First, I want to say that I used for my mock draft. You can use PFF. Some people use. You can use a couple of websites. I am using Pro Football Network for my mock draft. It makes it you don't have to pay for a proposed trade, so I can actually use it on there.
That's how
So
they
yeah,
get you.
so yeah, PFF you have to pay for proposed trades. That's some
Yeah,
bullshit. First,
execute whoever made
the
that.
first pick in the draft, Aaron. Fuck, we are finally here. It took me a while for this. I said
Real,
Baron, it took me about
real hard
4
one,
hours.
right?
Yes, real hard ones. I have the Raiders trading away the. No, I'm kidding. I have the Raiders going with Fernando Mendoza, quarterback Indiana. It's a no-brainer here. I wrote no-brainer here for Vegas. They go win now, or kind of reset mode to get them into win now mode with QB. Heisman winner, 2-star sensation who came from Miami, went to Indiana as a transfer, now lead the silver and black for years to come. Of course, this is going to be the pick. There is no other selection that's going to happen. If you're wondering what else the Raiders really need, which is not really going to be in play unless they trade up, it's going to be offensive tackle and offensive guard, somebody out on the wide out to help them, and somebody in the trenches on defensive line. They need someone in DT. But they really need offensive line help. They got Tyler Linderbaum, which is going to be good to work with. But other than that, he needs people around him. But they go with Fernando Mendoza, number 1. I'm actually redrafting my mock draft on the website right now. So that's fun. The Jets are at number 2, Baron, and actually, Baron, this is when the draft then goes to what is next. Because usually you can go, this guy's gonna go 1, this guy's gonna go 2, this guy's gonna go 3. Okay, maybe there's some guy in play in 4, 5, 6. You know, two is when this draft starts getting a little crazy, right? And what that argument is there David Bailey from Texas A&M, Arvell Reese. You can even throw in Carnell Tate from Ohio State, which would be a major reach in my opinion, but they need a wide receiver. Most people have either David Bailey or Arvell Reese. David Bailey's the more kind of solidified. I know I'm going to get a guy that's going to perform. Arvell Reese has the higher ceiling. Knowing everything, I have the Jets, which is a little bit on different mocks. I have the Jets going Arvell Reese here. It's a guy who's an off-ball and edge rusher. I think will probably turn into an edge rusher. New York was 31st in sacks last season with 26. Also, 27th in pressure rate, 28.8%. So they need help in the backfield. A guy like Arvell Reese can grow to the best off the class from Ohio State, so their Big Ten pick. The Jets, if they draft David Bailey Jr., kind of thinking win now mode with how good he is. But I think if they go that direction, it will be David Bailey because how much is Aaron Glenn's job on the line is probably what this pick goes after.
Well, also, when I'm thinking about like what you said with the Jets being 31st in pass rate or pass rush rate, I would probably, if I'm making that decision, I'd want to go with the more proven guy because I need to get that up, right? Let's say you take Reese on sort of the idea that he can turn into an elite edge rusher, but you're not there yet. That doesn't pan out. Here we are with the first overall pick again next year. So
here's why I have Arvell Reese. Well. I think the Jets are not 1 or 2 pieces away to start competing. I think they still need a quarterback. Let's be honest, Geno Smith is back at the helm, and we know how we feel about Geno Smith. They still need a wide receiver. They need edge rushers. They need corners because they got rid of Sauce Gardner, and they got no interceptions last year. Just think about that. There's help needed everywhere on this team.
It's true.
So I think Arvell Reese is a better player that can have a higher ceiling than David Bailey. That is why I went with Arvell Reese. We jumped to 3rd, Arizona Cardinals. You know, Jeremiah Love actually's odds have flown up to number 3. And I do not have the Arizona Cardinals going that direction because they just signed Tyler Algier. They still have James Conner. I don't think that's the position they really need. So I have them doing the exact kind of choice that they go one or other here with New York Jets. I have them taking David Bailey. They still need an edge. That is what they still need. They direly need an edge. So they're going to take David Bailey, who last year tied for most sacks with 14.5 in the FBS, led the FBS in pressure rate, if I'm not mistaken, at 20.2. Yes, he did. Instant impact off the edge. The questions are about how much he can produce at the NFL level. Biggest thing for the Cardinals, those are last 2 first-round picks have been defensive linemen in Darius Robinson from Missouri and Walter Nolan, defensive tackle, who aren't really working out. So they go right back to the D-line, which could be a concern for some Cardinals fans, but you need to address it. I think Bailey is that guy that addresses it immediately.
Makes sense.
Number 4, Tennessee Titans. There's been mock drafts that have the Tennessee Titans jumping down. There's
Mm-hmm.
mock drafts that have Tennessee Titans going crazy with this pick. I have them picking the guy that I think they should, right? Which, of course, I'm going to say that because it's my mock draft, but I have them going Jeremiah Love, Notre Dame running back at number 4. Cam Ward gets a guy who maybe doesn't have the hype of a Saquon Barkley in 2018 at number 2, but still can do exactly what every running back needs to do to be a superstar in this league. He can catch passes out the backfield, has home run space, can block pretty well on the line, good drive, everything you need in a star running back with a backfield of Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard. That is not what's going to get you something in this league for Cam Ward. You go and get your running back star, Jeremiah Love, who I think is maybe the best prospect in this draft, but since he's running back, is going to fall a little.
Yeah, I would only say I could see Carnell Tate if they feel like he's a good enough talent. I think personally, it's better to go and get your young guy, really good receiver, even if you're passing up on a generational guy like Jeremiah Love. Excuse me, I'm trying to stay awake. I'm still a little tired, but yeah, I see your reasoning. I could definitely see that happening.
You know, there's some wide receivers I could see them take in the second round as well, but I have them going Jeremiah Love. Now, Barron, the New York Giants at pick 5. They also have pick 10. There's a couple options they can go this way. I think they go 3 different directions with this pick. I'm going to talk about the directions I do not have them going in.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, I could see them going with an Eric Berry type player. Get yourself a guy who pivots alongside your safety and go with Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs, to me, is safety, so it's not really the big premium position, but is probably maybe the best safety prospect since we saw Eric Berry all the way back in the late 2000s, early 2010s, that kind of era. He was all the way. This is a position that if he got picked here would be the highest since then. I could see them going, hey, let's just go out and we get our guy for Jackson Dart. We get a wide receiver. We pair someone alongside Malik Neighbors, and we get wide receiver. We go with Carnell Tate. We go with Jordan Tyson. We go with someone next to him. Baron, I don't having that. Baron, the reason I have them going with Sonny Styles, linebacker out of Ohio State, is a guy exactly that John Harbaugh has on every defense, a guy who can play the middle of the field, who can read the quarterback, who can do everything around the position. You know, you saw a guy, in those late when he started taking over in like a Ray Lewis. Of course, you had a Kyle Hamilton really be that leader on defense. I think they need that leader on defense, and I have them going Sonny Styles, linebacker from Ohio State, who is the best kind of middle linebacker in this class. They go get that guy for John Harbaugh so they can make something happen.
That's what I think they do as well. With
So,
5.
Baron, I have to do it this here now. I have to, and what I have to do is I have a trade. Baron, I have a trade here. This is my first trade in my draft. Number 6 pick is the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns, but I have them trading with the Dallas Cowboys, who do not give up their pick 20, but give up a couple picks in order to move up 6 spots to number 6. Jerry Jones is becoming impatient, to say the least. And I think the one thing the Cowboys are missing is the Micah Parsons replacement. And they need to go get their Micah Parsons replacement. I think they get a little risky here. They trade up from 12 to 6. They select Reuben Bain Jr., edge rusher from Miami, a guy who can really do it all on the line. We saw that. And it's a guy that could be the number 1 edge rusher out of this class. He falls a little bit. Some people are concerned with what happened off the field. I'm not. 8.5 sacks last year, All-American. He was a really good 275-pound defensive edge who can beat you with power and speed. My biggest thing for him is his pursuit. It really gets off the edge well, especially in the run game. I think they get a guy like Reuben Bain Jr. who can do both sides, run and pass, and really clog up the line. Baron, you looked a little confused by that pick.
Well, the only reason I would say I'm confused is a lot of the mocks I've seen have him falling. And again, I haven't seen many, but based on the ones I've seen, I feel like the Cowboys could still make that pick without needing to trade up. And I agree. I do think Jerry Jones is impatient. I think he was really looking to replace and his stupid brain of his really thought that he was going to be able to replace Micah Parsons with these two old defensive tackles. But yeah, I also just don't think if he thinks there's a chance that a guy like that falls, I don't think he's going to be willing to give up as much capital.
Here's what I have for Ruben Bain Jr. I wrote exactly that, Baron. Here's what I have. Jerry Jones has 2 first-round picks. He's been speaking very aggressively about moving up, and I think he does pull the trigger once to replace Micah Parsons. He's a physical guy who could slip down due to needy picks, but also I could see him going number 8 to the New Orleans Saints, trying to replace Cameron Jordan, who's going to be out of the building. I could see him going number 9 to the Kansas City Chiefs, who have 2 first-round picks, who need a couple of different positions, but edge rusher, with that being such a talented guy in Ruben Bain Jr., who could be a top 5 pick in their year's draft, going to Kansas City. I think he does not get patient. I think he moves up not to risk it, and he gets his guy who replaces Micah Parsons.
We'll see. That'll definitely be out of character, but
We'll see.
We'll see.
He's been at least talking aggressive. Could see it happen. Number 7. Man, this one is a little weird for me. Number 7, I could see the Commanders going a lot of different directions. I would not be surprised if they go wide receiver here for Jaden Daniels, give him some help. But I don't have them going wide receiver, Baron. I don't have them going wide receiver. I think they go with a position of need who is also somebody who is generational. I have them picking Caleb Downs here. They could go a couple different positions. I wouldn't be shocked if they went with wide receiver. But Downs, you get a generational guy, defensive help immediately, best available in my opinion as well, slipping out of the top 5, which I think is going to be rare because I could see him going in that top 5. But I think he goes to the nation's capital. He plays in Landover, Maryland. Caleb Downs, I think, is going to be that next kind of defensive star, and he's going to be in Washington.
Yeah, next Sean Taylor. But
hopefully not with the
obviously
a long career, but yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a position you want if you're Washington. I mean, you look at the Cowboys, you look at their wide receiver room, you look at the Eagles, and you look at right now their wide receiver room. We'll see what the Giants end up doing, but obviously you've already got Malik Neighbors. So yeah, you definitely want DB help. You want to take the best available. I think the Commanders also draft from a position of whoever's the best available we're taking. I could see them taking Jeremiah Love if he's still available
if
there.
If he slipped, I think he could be taken there as well.
I think they really like the idea of pairing him with Jaden Daniels. So yeah, I like that, and I agree.
Now, there are a lot of Giants fans who want them to take Jeremiah Love, which I think is interesting with Cam Scatterbo in the backfield. But I'm
just going to be here, the first one to say this, and you can say it's because I hate the Giants or whatever, but he had a pretty bad injury. Yeah. I don't think you'll see him. And again, maybe I'm wrong, but personally, I don't think we'll see him be that productive really ever again. I think he'll find a very nice role as a running back too, kind of a guy to come in and take the load off whoever his rushing mate is, but I don't think he's going to be a lead back. I think pairing him with Jeremiah Smith would be very good for the Giants, but I don't think, as much as they all love him, I think even some of them realize that he's not really built to be a lead back. And again, maybe I'm wrong, maybe he is, but I look at his size, I look at his frame, I just don't think he's ready to be an NFL lead back. So we'll see.
Fair enough. That's why he slipped a little bit in last year's draft.
Exactly.
So I had them with Caleb Downs, but I can see them go receiver. I can see them go running back if he's still there. I can even see them maybe moving down, trying to get more capital so they can build around Jaden Daniels. But I actually have to go in Caleb Downs here, going with the generational kind of player who falls a little bit. Of course, this is my mock draft, so this is how it goes. Right. 8, New Orleans Saints. The New Orleans Saints need a couple positions, but I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Go get another Ohio State wide receiver. I have them getting some guy next to Chris Olave, taking the pressure off, going off Tyler Shuck's momentum. They go and get Carnell Tate out of Ohio State. Michael Thomas and Olave have had very productive careers, have been Saints players. End of year run for Tyler Shuck kind of tanked their pick from that top 5, but I don't think they're going to be too mad if they land somebody like Carnell Tate to pair alongside Travis Etienne, Tyler Shuck, Chris Olave, and become maybe one of the youngest, nastiest offensive production star level, skill positions out in the league and in the NFC.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. To me, their 2 biggest positions of need would be wide receiver or edge rushing. So Yeah, I think they take best available from those two.
The Kansas City Chiefs, I don't think are ever going to be in this top 10 position, in my opinion, as alongside Patrick Mahomes is there. I know that's a little bit of a you're speaking highly, Brooks, but I think last year was a little more of a rarity than it was going to be a commonality.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs need two positions. That's edge rusher and corner. Since Ruben Bain Jr. is off the board and the Cowboys got aggressive, I would have the Chiefs actually taking Ruben Bain Jr. if he was here. But I have them taking the best corner in this draft, which is Mansour Delane, LSU corner. They just traded away Trent McDuffie for that 29th overall pick, but they quickly erased that corner need in the 9th overall pick. Delane's consensus best corner. They need edge help as well, with the edge class deeper than the top end corners. Casey blocks up the corner need and immediately goes with this pick, maybe looking for edge help down lower. Delane should help a troubled defense that needs to cover the pass immediately after losing their star corner to the Rams. I haven't gone with Mansour Delaney out of LSU. I think this is just the right pick here, especially because your next kind of talented edge guy is going to be in that mid-late first round. So you don't reach, you take the best. If one or two positions you need Mansour Delaney.
Like it. Let's move on.
Perfect. Number 10, the New York Giants just got this pick from the Dexter Lawrence trade, giving away defensive tackle. But I don't think they replace that position here, Baron. What I think they do is I think they look at their offensive line, and I think that they go Evan Neal and Daniel Falale. Are they two guys that you trust in protecting Jackson Dart? If the answer is no, or if the answer is yes, I think this pick still works. They take the best offensive lineman in this draft. They take Francis Mauga from Miami. He's usually a right tackle, but I think you can even build him to be a right guard if you trust Evan Neal and Daniel Falele. So I have them going here to protect immediately Dart and Scatabo inside the pass game and the run game. It's not a sexy pick, but I think it's a very necessary pick for the New York Giants.
Okay, I didn't really anticipate them. I think they go. Again, I think they kind of go for the sexy picks. Because again, I don't think they hate their offensive linemen to the point where they think, oh, I think there's more position of need. But if they were to go that route, and like you said, you want to get a guy who you think would be good at tackle but could also maybe move to guard, then I would like to see them trade down and then maybe fall back to go and get a guy like Caden Proctor, who could maybe be a better guard if you wanted to move him that way, or you could try and refine his playing style and his weight and get him to be a tackle. But I don't hate that pick, but to me, I think they would go out and get a guy like, what's his name, Jordan Tyson if he's still available, maybe a Mekhi Lemon if he's still available, or even if they wanted to trade back, Kenyon Sadiq is a guy that I think Jackson Dart would have a lot of fun with, and I think you look at how what am I thinking of? John Harbaugh uses tight ends in his offense. I think that might be something to look at as well, but I don't hate that.
Fair enough. Number 11 are the Miami Dolphins, who I think are a team that we're looking at, Baron, to be one of the worst in the NFL next year. They need a lot of things, but what I think they do is I think they need a corner, they need an edge rusher, they need offensive line, but I think they go immediately with let's help the guy we just gave a 3-year contract to a quarterback position. Let's go get him a receiver. And they go out and they get Jordan Tyson from Arizona State. Tyson has a little bit of an injury history, which I think is kind of giving him a little bit of for some teams, but I think he's the most complete kind of 3-level guy, short, medium, and long in this draft class. I think you can put him in the slot. I think at 6'2", you can put him out wide as well. So he works. And he is pretty good in the kind of explosive, kind of after catch ability. I'm going to go Jordan Tyson here to give immediately Malik Willis and also a replacement for Jalen Waddle right out of the gates.
Don't hate that at all.
Perfect. CB's a must need, but I think with the lane off the board, they don't go with that anymore. His workout was amazing as well. If you look at Tyson's workout, it was awesome. Created a lot of separation. But I think, honestly, he could rival Carnell Tate for number 1 receiver in this class, and he goes to the Dolphins at 11. Now, Baron, since I traded this pick with the Cowboys, this is now the Cleveland Browns, who are the number 12 pick. The Cleveland Browns desperately need two positions, and that's offensive line and that's wide receiver. And to me, they can either go two directions, and that's Makai Lemon from USC. If I say the name first, that means I don't go that direction, Baron. And I think they're going to go with Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah. I think Fano has an argument to be the number one offensive tackle in this draft class. Very physical guy, very good with his feet, can move very well in the run game as well. Needs to work a little bit on the pass protection. But he added snatches into his game in 25 when I was watching film, which is really good. But I think for a guy when you have Quinshawn Judkins, who came out of that backfield, you create even more separation for your run game. And then, of course, I think an NFL training room will help him with his pass protection. Spencer Fano, I think, is the best long arms as well. He goes to Cleveland at 12.
Love that. Good pick.
I think that's a very good pick. I think this is starting to talk about maybe a win of a draft class for the Cleveland Browns. Next are the Los Angeles Rams. Baron, there's actually only been one guy mocked here after I looked at my draft, and I was like, okay, I guess we all agree. Makai Lemon, USC wide receiver, I have going to the Rams here. You might be wondering, Baron, whoa, Puka Nacua, Devontae Adams. Why are we picking a wide receiver? Well, first of all, they don't have another wide receiver that can really make plays. And I think that's happening. Second of all, this Rams Super Bowl window is as narrow as it gets now because Matthew Stafford might be here for one more year. He's contemplating retirement, will stay for 26. Devontae Adams is turning 24, and I don't like bringing it up, but Puka Nacua is
He's only 24?
34, my apologies.
I was
34.
about to say.
Yeah,
Jesus.
34. Of course he's not 24. 34. He is 34 years old, turning 34.
How old is How long has he been in the
Been
league?
playing since 12 years old, and
Exactly.
with Puka Nacua's off the field issues too. I know, I don't like bringing it up, but it's still something I want to bring up. Makai Lemon, I think, is a good safety blanket for Matthew Stafford, and also he's a combo slot guy, which a combo slot guy is somebody like, I know this is high praise, but a Jackson Smith and Jigba in your own division. I have them go getting Makai Lemon, who can really help them be a nasty team.
Look,
Out.
people think I'm just not big on him, right? And I think that's a lot of people's sort of concern is the size. I mean, I'm just looking at, this doesn't have it right here, but yeah. 5'11", sub 200. Like, obviously, that's not a guy that you're going to expect to go out and be a wide receiver one. And I think that's why a lot of people don't think he's going to be drafted as high, even though they might say he's the best receiver talent. So I don't hate that draft pick for the Rams, but I don't know. I feel like, I mean, they don't really have a ton of holes, I guess, if you're thinking about it. They just went and got Trent McDuffie. So they've got, their DBs are fine. I mean, the linebacker core is fine. Their defensive line is fine. So
their offensive line could maybe get a touch here. They need a linebacker, but there's no linebacker in range. They do need that wide receiver kind of for the future. He's not the best blocker because of that size. It's really hard to be a good blocker and have that. But the two things you're getting, I think you're getting a safety blanket for Matthew Stafford, a guy you can dump 4 or 5 yard pass to in the air, who can then go for 15, 20. Because how quick he is.
Why not just take Kenyon Sadiq then? That's
a guy who can block.
But he can go out and be a safety blanket.
But you don't need a tight end, right? You have Tyler Higbee, who just signed that extension, who's there as your tight end one. And I think you kind of need to look at wide receiver because I think Devontae Adams is gone after this year. He might be considering retirement. So then you go get a second guy who you can get there. You go get a Makai Lemon.
Well, that's fine. I don't love it, but it's fine.
The Baltimore Ravens, they need positions. And I think what they're going to do is I think they're going to reach a little here. But I think they need to reach. You can say maybe they go out and get a wide receiver. Maybe they go get an Omar Cooper or Casey Concepcion, which I think would be a reach. I think they need defensive tackle. Maybe they go and get a defensive tackle. But I think what they do need the most is interior offensive line because Lamar Jackson was actually, I think, 11th most sacked, 12th most sacked last year. What it is, 45 sacks. They need upgrading on that interior O-line. They just lost Linderbaum at center, and they still need guard help. I have them reaching up and getting Olava Vega Ione from Penn State. I think they need that position desperately, and they go get a guy in Ione who has not allowed a sack at Penn State in the last 2 years. So I think he's a tone setter up front. I think he's the best safe pick in this draft. And the Ravens go safe, which what they're trying to do. They go get Ione.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is if they think they can maybe get a little more capital and drop back a couple of picks, pull that trigger. But no, like you said, play it safe. That's a good pick, especially when you're trying to beef up offensive line. I like that.
So the Bucks to me need a couple different positions, and I think they all land in defense. I'm looking at edge, I'm looking at linebacker, I'm looking at defensive tackle, and I go, you're not really in a position to make a play on a guy who's at that value. But the position they do need, Baron, is somebody to go match up with wide receivers. 27th in pass defense last year. They lost Jamal Dean. Zion McCollum didn't play his potential after signing that extension. Benjamin Morris was inconsistent as a rookie. So they need someone who can defend the pass. I have them going getting Jermod McCoy, corner from Tennessee, who did not play last year due to a torn ACL. But when he did play at Tennessee, he was actually projected to be the number one corner in this draft. So you're getting a guy who you know is talented, who can maybe play up to that level. They need somebody who can watch the pass. You know, you see the Saints going out and get options. Ted McMillan out in Carolina, Drake London out in Atlanta. They need someone to defend the pass. They go get Jermon McCoy, who could be that number one corner in this class if he did not have that injury.
I think he will be when it's all said and done. So, yeah, I like that.
Nice. New York Jets, man. The New York Jets, again, I could see them going edge here, but I think what they do need is this is way too early to pick a quarterback, in my opinion, especially with the class. They need some guy alongside Garrett Wilson.
Okay.
Really, I don't think Adonai Mitchell is really going to be a wide receiver too. He didn't really prove it. And there's no reason he just magically turns into a wide receiver too. So I think you go get some guy who complements Garrett Wilson. I have them, again, you could say, reaching a little, but I think they need that wide receiver position. I have them getting a proven winner. I have them getting Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana, on the other side of Garrett Wilson, a guy who was almost 1,000 yards, had double-digit touchdowns. I don't think it matters who's throwing the passes as long as you have someone who can catch it. And Garrett Wilson needs someone who can give some attention off him. You get Omar Cooper Jr.
Don't hate that.
Perfect. The Lions, I think, are plugged in at one position, and that's offensive line, specifically the offensive tackle position.
I think most mocks only have one player going there,
and they have a couple options they can go with. And I think they go a little bit not on the safe route, but I think they go on the potential route here. So they need someone to keep Penei Sewell maybe at right tackle, and or left tackle. Either one can work. And I think what they do go is they go get Monroe Freeling out of the University of Georgia. Can really complement Sewell alongside. They just released Taylor Decker, longtime veteran who's been there for a while. They need an offensive tackle. They go get a program which produces talent. Georgia, they go to Monroe Freeling. And he has long arms at 34 3/4 of an inch. So I like this. I know Caden Proctor has been linked there, but I think with Proctor's kind of ineffectiveness on the offensive tackle position and more can slide inside, I like Freeling to go to the Lions.
yeah, Proctor to me is more of a project pick. I think he has a very, very high upside. Oh, there you go. This might already give you a little tell for your mock, but the Jets general manager just canceled their visit with David Bailey.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Look at me, man.
But yeah, I think Proctor's more of the project player. If you want someone proven, ready to be a win now, I think Freeling's the right choice.
He said that it's not much of a cancellation. Says that we noted that they were juggling their 30 visits and they'd already done work on Bailey. Nice. All right.
Yeah.
Now I jump back into
Arvell Reese, you are a Jet.
Facts. I go to the Minnesota Vikings here, 18, Baron, and I think the Vikings. I know you're not going to let this pick for your Philadelphia Eagles, but I think they need to replace Harrison Smith, whether he's there in the building or not in 2026. I have them going Dylan Feineman here with the pick from Oregon. His time in the purple and gold is ending for Harrison Smith. I think Feineman's 8 career interceptions will help Brian Flores' defense in 26. It doesn't matter if he's here or not. I think you can plug him in different positions out in the secondary and maybe even kind of creep up a little. But I think they need help in that secondary. and they look to the future as well, plugging in a need. They go get Dylan Theineman from Oregon.
Like it.
Nice, Baron. Now, a couple things here. I'm going with a little bit of a pick. I don't think most mocks are going to come with actually here for the Carolina
Okay.
Panthers. I think most of the time they're going to go offensive tackle. I'm going to swing a different thing here. I think the Panthers really need another pass catcher for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm not thinking wide receiver, Baron. I'm going to go with Kenyon Sadiq here, a tight end out of Oregon. They really need a tight end here for a couple of years. And I think Kenyon Sadiq, he got exposed a little bit in the blocking game against Indiana and really needs to work on that drive and his size. But you really get a guy here can go maybe a little bit higher in Kenyon Sadiq. Um, I think they get a guy who has good rack potential, run after catch, good
Mm-hmm.
size, can make it happen here. Kenyon Sadiq, I think another blanket for Bryce Young to hit too. And back-to-back Oregon picks in my draft.
Yeah.
Fair enough. I like that. Now, I still have the Dallas Cowboys keeping their pick 20. I think they make a lot of kind of future moves with that pick up to 6. So they still keep 20, Baron. This is my first major reach of the draft here. A guy that is projected to go day 2. There's reaches in every draft. And I think what the Cowboys do is we look at our team and we are kind of in that middle position. And we go, do we need a project? No, we don't. What they do need is help on defense. And what they do need is help at corner. There's a couple guys that go here. Maybe Avion Terrell, I think, is undersized at the position. Also, did not have a good combine. A little too slow, in my opinion, for an outside corner. You look at Colton Hood from Tennessee. I think still has a little bit of issues with his size at 5'11".
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at a guy who has great ball skills, but when you go against one-on-one, not really going to be there. I have him going get a guy who's 6'1", former walk-on Baron, a guy who ran a 4.3 340, a guy who had a 38-inch vertical jump. I have him going in a day 2 guy in Traden Stukes, corner from Arizona, former walk-on. They go and take a little bit of a guy who's a 6th-year player, so a little bit more age-wise, but a little bit, in my opinion, more proven at the game than a guy who's going to give you something else. His combine is off the charts. He can go get alongside you in the slot, or with his speed, or with his size out wide.
He's listed as a safety. That's why.
And I think you go get Traylon Stukes, who can play either safety or corner, and is listed actually as a corner in this class because he played both and is going to line up more at corner.
ESPN has him as a safety.
Because ESPN doesn't know what they're talking about.
Bang.
Bang. So that's why I have going, and I know every Cowboys fan is looking at me with absolute shock. That is a shock. I understand, but I think that's what they go with here. 21. There's two or three things maybe the Steelers can go here. I've seen a lot of people talk about them getting somebody who can line alongside DK Metcalf at wide receiver. I don't have them going that way. A quarterback. Do they go get the quarterback? If you don't know Aaron Rodgers' certainty for 2026, again, I don't have them going that way. They need somebody on the offensive line, particularly. They need someone in the interior offensive line. Now, they do have Fatanu and Jones, Broderick Jones, on the line. So they can't really slide a guy maybe into guard, but what they can do is slide a guy who does need help at the edge or the offensive tackle position into guard. This is where I have Caden Proctor going, number 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, 6'7", very strong dude, sitting at 352 pounds, 5-star, of course, from Des Moines, Iowa, played at Bama, so I had SEC talent. Only issues with him really at Bama was dealing with speed rushers, Baron. He couldn't really move quick with his feet. So then you shift him inside where he doesn't need to do a lot of kind of speed work. He needs to do more kind of power, which is what he's good at. You move him inside, you beef up your interior OL, and get you somebody who can block for your run game and that interior pass game.
Yeah, to me, this is a player that is the most obvious. You need to move him to a guard.
Now, I think the next pick, I think that the Chargers are slamming the desk because they wanted Caden Proctor. They wanted to move Caden Proctor, interior offensive lineman. And I think the Chargers can go two different ways here. Now we're getting back into the edge class, Baron. We're getting back into the edge class. And Khalil Mack is old. They need someone to go out and replace that kind of that D-line. But Baron, I think the images that you saw on Sunday Night Football and the rest of this season were the PFF rankings. I know this is now they're going to think about it, but you look at the guys on offensive line who are literally worse than 32. I think they go, what does that say?
Mike Tomlin's joining NBC for Football Night in America.
Yeah, shut up, Mike. I think the Chargers, they reach here. They go get a guy who was projected early day 2, but they go get that interior offensive line help because it was dooming Justin Herbert last year. They have Joe Alt. They have Rashawn Slater. They were injured last year. That doesn't help, but still the interior defense or offensive line massively need help. They go out and get Chase Basantis, the offensive lineman from Texas A&M. It's a
Okay.
little bit of a reach, but I think they do get that pick because they want to play it safe. They need interior offensive line help, and the daunting images of that broken offensive line. They need that need. They go and get it.
Well, now I'm excited for what you've got next.
Now, Baron, I knew you were going to look forward to this pick. That is the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Eagles go 2 different directions here. They either go offensive line or
No.
they go edge.
Mm,
I don't.
You're forgetting a very important position.
I don't think they go safety here, Baron. I don't think they do. I think you look at the safeties in this class, and you look at the next safety, which is Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. You guys need a little bit more coverage, and I think you get that coverage out in the later rounds of this draft. I don't think you get that in the first round. Now, Howie Roseman is really good at stopping issues in the future. And what I mean by that is he's really good at drafting guys that plug in issues for next year so that it's not a big red warning sign. And I think that big red warning sign is Lane Johnson, who's gonna retire, who was injured. And I think this pick might be the biggest win this draft class. I think you have to switch him from left to right, which could be a little bit tough. But with the risk of Lane Johnson who get injured, who's probably going to retire, Howie Roseman not really letting this, a guy who could go in the top 10, Baron, slides all the way to 23. I have him going Caleb Lamu, offensive tackle from Utah, who I think can slide into that position and really help the offensive line.
Yeah, I just feel like that's going to be addressed later. I don't know. I think, personally, if Hakeem Mesidor is still there, I don't think you can pass up on that, especially when you look at our edge room. And I'm very high on both Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt, but they're just Nolan Smith's injury prone, and they both are. So it's like, yeah, I would not be too happy if we went offensive line first round. I think there's glaring needs on defense. I would rather see a safety go in round 1, and I like McNeil-Warren. I think the way he plays is really nice. He has a great frame to be sort of a box strong safety. And again, we have Andrew Makuba from last year's draft who looked very promising until he got injured. So I feel like he can slide right in as a free safety, a tie safety, and you can plug McNeil-Warren in as a box safety. But I'm not going to be upset if we get a top 5 tackle at that point.
I think Lamu is probably one of the best tackles in this draft. I think if you're going safety, you can go with a Genesis Smith will probably be able to from Arizona, Kamari Ramsey, Jalen Kilgore, maybe even in the 3rd round. Bud Clark, if you're going edge. I think edges are great in the 2nd round. You have a guy like Malachi Lawrence from UCF, Cassius Howell, TJ Parker, Zion Young. I think all those guys are 2nd round talent edges, and I think that's where Philly goes in the 2nd round, right around there. I think Philly only has 1 2nd round pick this year. I think that's where they're going to go. Browns are back at 24. So the Browns got their offensive line, so now they need to go get that wide receiver. I have them going Kesey Concepcion, wide receiver from Texas A&M. My biggest thing with Concepcion is he's 5'11", so again, not a really good blocking. But you look at the wide receivers they do have, Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond. They don't really have a guy who's super explosive and twitchy, a guy that you can really just beat right there. And I think he's a speed kill guy in Casey Concepcion. I think you need that for Shadur Sanders, a big blanket as well. He can beat you short and long. They're going to go Casey Concepcion. They get the biggest 2 needs from this draft class, both at the value they need. I think the Browns win this draft with this pick.
All right.
Now, the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears need an edge rusher. They do. I know they do. And the last time the Bears selected an edge rusher in the top 50 was Leonard Floyd back in 2016. And I have them continuing that streak. I do not have them going edge rusher because they need someone who can plug a hole in immediately at defensive tackle. So there's a couple different ways they can go here. I think they can either go with Caleb Banks from Florida, who's really flown up, but Caleb Banks got injured in 2025, came back on the Senior Bowl, looks really good, and then immediately broke his foot in the combine. Immediately got injured again. So I think they go with the best available now, which is Peter Woods from Clemson. I think Peter Woods regressed. Well, not think he did regress in 2025, but I think you're still looking at a blue chip guy at 2020 or that 25th pick. And can probably be a really good, maybe top 10, top 15 talent if he actually produces the way he should. Also, with Grady Jarrett in Chicago, a former Clemson player, I think it's a perfect mentor for a guy who's going to kind of phase out of the league soon. So I think this is a perfect fill in for that run game, for that interior defensive line. Give me Peter Woods going to Chicago.
Okay. I feel like, again, with Akeem Mesidor still being available, I think that's just if you have a need at edge, I just think that's a guy I would go out and get, but I don't hate it either.
Now, the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills need edge. There's two on the board, Kendrick Falk or Akeem Mesidor. Kendrick Falk to me is a little more of a project. Akeem Mesidor is a 25-year-old rookie with a little bit of an injury history. So you're taking more of a guy who should be solidified for the NFL. If the Bills need one thing, they need a guy solidified for the NFL. This is where I have Akeem Mesidor falling into pick 26. Just because of his age, I think teams are going to back off them, that they need to back off him a little more. And just because of his injury history, I think it's going to be a little scary. But the Bills need pass attack. They get Akeem Mesidor. And that's where I have him falling. Good size at 6'3", 260. Also, I think probably a top 4 edge in this class in terms of true kind of NFL readiness. Mm-hmm. But with his age, with his injury history, he slips a little bit. 26.
All right, 6 more.
Can good 3 tech or 5 tech guy as well. Can get both pass and run. The 49ers to me are the most interesting team in this draft as well at pick 27. They can go wide receiver, but I don't see a wide receiver in the area for them to pick. They can go offensive guard. I don't see an offensive guard for them to pick. They can go edge. But I think if you go edge, you're playing Mykel Williams, Nick Bosa, and another edge. Because Nick Bosa and Mykel Williams are coming off those ACL injuries. I have them going offensive tackle. Now, I know they just signed Trent Williams to that extension. But to me, you still need a little bit of protection there. You still need somebody who's going to replace Trent Williams, who's 38 years old, Baron. I can't trust a guy at 38 to play 2 more years completely. I know he's going to play next year, but 39, 40 for an offensive tackle, that can happen, but you're really waning down into the latter half of your years. To me, you go with a guy with, honestly, I'm not the highest on, but he had a really good combine, is going to probably get slotted up there. I have them going Blake Miller, offensive tackle from Clemson. Really good combine, like I said, good size as well at 6'6", almost 6'7" at 320 pounds. This is where he falls down into that 20, 28, 29, 30 range. So make a little bit of reach, but really good balance on the offensive line. Good size, good physicality. They go Blake Miller out in the Bay.
Yeah, like that.
Baron, we're wrapping this one up. We got 5 more picks remaining. The Niners get their offensive tackle. There's still offensive tackles out there, but the Texans need more interior offensive linemen. And I think if you go more interior, you're really reaching here, specifically because the Chargers have taken a reach at offensive line. I think if the Chargers don't reach there and get Chase Basantes, I think Basantes goes here at 28, but I don't. Now, the defensive line for the Texans is amazing. Look at Will Anderson, look at Danielle Hunter. That's the best kind of tandem pass rush, but they still want to plug up the run. They sucked at stopping the run. They go and get defensive tackle. And Caden McDonald, Ohio State defensive tackle, another Buckeye off the board. He had 9.5 tackles for loss last year, and his 7.8% run stop percentage is the highest in FBS defensive lineman. So you get a guy who can plug up the defensive run, another stout defender, and makes the Texans defense probably the hardest in the National Football League.
What is this? Pick 28?
Yep.
So they pick again in 10 picks. Obviously not to be a day later, but if you want to get a offensive guard, but you feel like you have a pick that's too high, this is a perfect spot to
Yep.
wait.
Also, if it maybe a guy like Max Iannaccio somehow falls down all the way there, but
Yeah.
I doubt he does, that'll be a guy. And then you look at those interior offensive linemen. That's where you can go get them in that second round.
Mm-hmm.
29, Kansas City. They addressed the need for corner. They need to address the need of edge. So this is where I have Kedrick Falk falling at 29 to the Kansas City Chiefs. To me, Kedrick Falk is interesting. 6'6", 280 pounds coming off the edge. Holy crap, Baron. That is insane. Big size, big power. Actually has good knowledge of the game. But his big issue was pass attack. Only 2 sacks last year, which was a big need for the Kansas City Chiefs. They have George Karlaftis, Chris Jones. They get somebody else on the other side, which they need. That's Kedrick Falk. Less attention to both those guys. And raw at 6'6", 280. Good NFL upside. I think the Kansas City Chiefs are good at that training. They go get Kedrick Falk.
Like it.
Now, Baron, pick 30. This is why I love this site. Baron, I have a trade to announce.
Oh boy, oh
have
boy.
a trade to announce. The Dolphins sit at pick 30, and I think what does happen is I have the Arizona Cardinals
Oh boy.
jumping up from pick 34 to pick 30. Now, I wrote a damn paragraph and a half on this pick. I have the Cardinals trading 34-30 and probably a third or a fourth as well to jump into pick 30. And I have them selecting Ty Simpson, quarterback from Alabama. This is where I think Ty Simpson's going to land. He's really getting slated to go to the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Jets take him at 33.
Yeah,
The
that's
first
what
pick
I
in
would
the
say.
second round. But the Arizona Cardinals don't take that risk. They jump the New York Jets. They go get a quarterback in Ty Simpson. Okay. Here's what I have. With Mendoza being I'll read exactly what I wrote. With Mendoza being the clue true one, no one else is really close to him. Cardinals jump the Jets at 33. Go get Simpson to land the desert. Let's start with my positives. He had moments where he looked like the number one guy in his in that position in his small sample size. Just turn on the UGA tape at Sanford Stadium against the Dogs. He looked like the true Heisman winner right there. He had 28 touchdowns to 5 interceptions, good touchdown to turnover ratio in a tough and competitive SEC where Alabama played a really tough schedule. His off-platform throws, his arm angles, I liked as well. Good under pressure, can read a defense well pre and post snap. Might be, Brooks, why is this guy not the number one guy? You're reading off like he's the damn best quarterback in the draft. Something that is off that kills a career in the NFL, his timing. His timing sucks. He's either way too early or way too late with releasing a football. And with where he needs to go, his timing is just off. And I hate it. Now, that is something that can be fixed at the NFL level. He needs to make that right decision. A QB with that flaw goes nowhere, but can be trained for the right side. Maybe. And that is what the Cardinals are buying into with Ty Simpson.
All right.
Nice. 31. This is where I actually had to change my 31 pick.
Okay.
Because I think Denzel Boston is a really good pick here. The team needs wide receiver. They go wide receiver Denzel Boston. I don't have that if they get A.J. Brown. If they get A.J. Brown, that completely changes my draft. They go and get a position they do need, which is linebacker. Now, some people have Jacob Rodriguez, Texas A&M, who's a day 2 guy, flying up day 1. And to me, I think you're reaching with Jacob Rodriguez. I understand. Now, again, bias because I watched this guy play a lot in person. I have a guy in C.J. Allen, linebacker from Georgia, going at pick 31 here. Either early day 2 or late day 1. I have going late day 1, position to need linebacker. To me, C.J. Allen reads defenses like a monster, fills that linebacker need for the NFL runner-ups last year. They need help on the edge, but once again, they have potential to wait for someone like that on day 2. Allen's an NFL talent day 1 as well, changes the entire complexion of the play. Calibrate everyone on defense. You look at the film, he's literally telling everyone on defensive line, safety, corner, what's happening, where to go, what I think is massive. So massive film watcher. Speaking of massive, not tall at all, below 6'1", but uses that drive and leverage with those kind of legs and lower frame to get in between gaps in the run game. So I think he fills that position, and a staple tackle position on that Mike Vrabel defense.
All right.
Baron, it's actually going faster than I thought it would.
Mhm.
Pick 32.
Here we go.
Last pick of the draft, the Seattle Seahawks. They need a running back. The Seahawks only have 4 picks this draft. One of them is a second rounder, actually. They do need a running back. But to me, Jadarian Price, Mike Washington, Emmett Johnson, those guys are late second, early third to me. And I think you're massively reaching. And I think this could be a trade back for the Seattle Seahawks to get more draft capital. But I really don't have anybody budging up here because Ty Simpson's now off the board, and no one's going to try to make a jump for him. And to be honest, the only other guy I can see make a jump is the guy I think that they're going to go pick here. I have them replacing Tariq Woolen, who is lost. I have them going Colton Hood, corner for the the Tennessee Volunteers. They need a corner. They go and replace Tariq Woolen. I understand Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, both positions that are either hurt or gone. If they don't reach here, I think they get that 64th overall. They need someone to replace that pass protection. Go get Colton Hood from Tennessee, who I think you can actually get at above value here.
I actually really like that for him. That's what I was thinking too.
Exactly. So that is my complete mock draft round 1. I know, Baron, you're not happy with the Eagles pick, but that is exactly the direction I have them going. Yeah, maybe. I still don't have McNeil Warren off the board, so maybe that's a move up. But other than that, is there anything else you want to comment about that?
No, I think you did a very good job. I'll give you a 4 hours well spent for sure. Obviously, it's hard for you when your team is not making a selection in the first round, but who knows? Maybe we're gonna sell out for a pick in this year's draft. But it's okay. Jalen Walker, is that his name? Am I saying that right?
Jalen Walker, yeah.
Yeah, he's coming home. From my understanding, he might face a little 6 game, but he will be a Falcon in the future. So
James Pierce.
There we go, James Pierce. He will be a Falcon in the future. So the pick was not completely wasted. Maybe for 6 games might be a little rough, but yeah. It's not terrible to be a Falcons fan, is it?
It's not. I don't think so. It's horrible, actually. It's the worst thing ever. But James Pierce Jr. is innocent. He did nothing wrong. Jalen Walker's going to dominate the edges with him as well. So stand tall with James Pierce Jr. But that's my full round 1 mock. 2 trades in there. Cowboys being the biggest one. And the Arizona Cardinals going up and get Ty Simpson to make him our first rounder. A couple surprises in there. I know Trayvon Stukes is a big surprise from Arizona. Chase Masantis, a little bit of a reach. I think even Olava Vega Ione is a little bit of a pluck up, but I think a safe pick. Yeah.
One last question though, since this is the golden goose of any NFL draft. But if the Cardinals move up and take Ty Simpson, what did the Jets do at 33?
If the Cardinals move up, I think the Jets go with either a safety, and they get McNeil. They get Warren. McNeil Warren. My bad. They go get him, which I think could be a good pick. Also, I think if the Jets stay at 33, they already got their need in Arvell Reese. So I think when they go all the way down, to me, they already got wide receiver, edge. They could go interior offensive lineman as well.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. I think there could be a spot where Jacob Rodriguez goes too. They need a linebacker. I think Jacob Rodriguez could go there. So I like the Jets to make a play on either Jacob Rodriguez, McNeil Warren, which I think would be a little bit of a but best available in my opinion, or they go out and I think Jacob Rodriguez is the pick for them. Yeah, Jacob Rodriguez, linebacker, I think would be the biggest one, or they go out and get interior offensive lineman, which for me that would be like an Emmanuel Pragon from Oregon. I think Keelan Rutledge from Georgia Tech is getting mocked to go late first round right now from a couple I've seen, but I think he's a day 2 guy. Those 2 guys.
Sounds good.
There you go. That's a good question, by the way. That was a good question. Get me on my toes.
There you go. All right. Well, if that is it, this has been a rather longer episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. Brooks put a lot of work into it while I did nothing, as usual. So, yeah. Any last words, Brooks?
I just did a simulate of a round 1 mock from this site, and it had Kenyon Sadiq going to the Philadelphia Eagles.
That would make me
I don't
happy.
think you would like that pick either. So.
Yeah, I would.
You would?
I mean, Dallas Goedert is about to be turned 30.
Yep.
Obviously, you want someone that, and if you lose, we'll say hypothetically, if A.J. Brown does get traded, then you have a guy who's 6'3". Because again, I know you are of the belief that Devontae Smith cannot be a wide receiver 1, and while I think he can to some level, I don't think you'll get that sort of one-on-one jump ball ability that you lose with A.J. Brown. I think you replace that with Kenyon Sadiq. But I think, to me, the biggest tell that the Eagles are going to trade A.J. Brown is if they trade up for Kenyon Sadiq. If that happens, then I think he's as good as gone. So, but yeah, we'll wait and see. Thursday night will reveal a lot about how this saga will play out, despite what Adam Schefter says. And yeah, let's not act like Adam Schefter's right all the time.
No, but he's not. No.
But
I think I read like 8 or 9 mock drafts too. So
yeah, well, good for you. All right. Well, if that is all, you guys have a great rest of your day, and we will see you.
Our next, what is it called?
Episode
will be after the draft.
Yeah.
Maybe we should grade the draft. Maybe that should be our next episode, grading the NFL draft.
We probably will.
We probably will be, which will also include trades that will happen, which will include even more news.
Mm-hmm.
Baron, I'm not gonna lie, that could be like an hour and a half episode right there.
Yeah.
We're really treating our viewers.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yes.
It's graduating season. People going home from college. People are driving. So got something to listen to.
That's
right.
Baron, that'll be another episode of Nothing Agreed. Thank y'all so much for listening. Give me your round 1 mock. Where do you have your team selecting? Also, what do you think about the Sexy Dexy trade? And I'm going to bring it up. Maybe A.J. Brown going to the Patriots. Other than that, thank you so much for listening. And peace.